So I'm going to try to give you the quickest overview that I can about what this whole process is about. If you're familiar with my work, you maybe have seen parts of it, but I want to give you the quick overview of how it all fits together. It starts with and it's built on the 3-minute game. The 3-minute game is extremely simple, consists of 2 questions that you take turns asking each other. It's for 2 or more people. So 2 questions that you take turn asking each other. And each question is an offer. So in each of those 2 questions, you're going to be asking your partner what they would like in a particular way. And so you'll be, whatever it is that you do, it will be for them because it's what they like. So in that sense, you will be giving. You're making an offer to give. And these are the 2 questions. How would you like me to touch you for 3 minutes? And the other question is, how would you like to touch me for 3 minutes? Extremely simple and not always easy. So if you both take turns asking both questions, you're going to create 4 different experiences or 4 different rounds of the game. In each of those 4, you are either doing or being done to, one or the other, and it's either for you or it's for them. You've made them the offer, so it's for them, or they've made you the offer, so it's for you. So that means that either you're doing and it's for them, or you're doing and it's for you, or you're being done to and it's for them, or you're being done to and it's for you. And what happens is that each of those 4 experiences are distinct and different and have a completely different place to explore for you. What you find is that who's doing, in any of those given 4 rounds, who's doing is pretty obvious. Who it's for is not always obvious at first, but it's the crux of what makes them different experiences. And who it's for is often the most difficult part for people to kind of experience and find in their hands and wrap their head around, because part of it is sort of counterintuitive and odd. So you're either doing and it's for them, or you're doing and it's for you. You're either being done to and it's for them, or you're being done to and it's for you. 4 distinct experiences. And each of those 4 is inherent to being human. Each of those 4 is different from the others. Each of those 4 will challenge you in its own way. Each of those 4 will liberate you and free you up in a different way. Each of them has a different thing that it teaches you and shows you about yourself. Each of the 2 dynamics that are created have a distinct, different kind of flavor from the other. And that's what this whole process is about. What's true and sometimes difficult for people is that in order to experience each of the 4, you have to take them apart. You cannot do them, you cannot try to mush them up and do them, all at once. You mix them together. You have to completely take each of the 4 apart. And in order to do that, you have to be very clear about who it's for. So when it's for you, it's 100% for you. You respect the other person's limits, of course, but it's for you. When it's for them, it's completely for them, and you set aside what you would prefer for that time. So you have to take them apart. What's also true is that thinking about it may or may not make any sense. Quite often it doesn't. But when you feel it in your hands, there's a certain click or oh, I get it. When your hands get it, you get it. And then all the thinking about it and all that stuff can be interesting and useful. But the point of the whole process is for your hands to get it. And then you'll get it. And then it'll start to make sense. So there's one more piece that has to be in place in order for your hands to get it. And that is that your hands have to be capable of experiencing pleasure just as they are for no reason, just a very tangible sensory enjoyment. And that is not a given. Many people have long since forgotten how to do that, most people actually. And until that sort of clicks in your hands, the 4 roles that we're talking about will not be accessible. They just won't click. So you have an option here then. You're welcome to take the 3-minute game. You've got all you need here in these first few minutes already. Just take the 2 questions, ask them to each other, take turns, and have a blast. And if you want to really discover what are the treasures in each of those 4 roles or 4 quadrants, you have to start with the change in your hands. And so that's what we do on this page. The first, there's an introduction that gives a few ideas, then that will be helpful. Then there are 3 lessons. The first lesson is about that change in your hands. The lesson shows you, are my hands sort of awake to that pleasure, and are those sort of wires plugged in? And if they aren't, how to connect them. Again, it's very, very simple. So the first lesson is that, change in your hands. Then the next 2 lessons are each of those 2 questions. And instead of asking the question with this whole huge option of how do you want to touch me? Well, gosh, and there's a lot of choices there. We start with limiting it to hands and forearms. Lots of reasons, I'll explain that later, but the point of the process that's on this page is finding the difference between those, first of all, the change in your hands, and then finding each of those 4, sort of locating it in yourself, letting your hands get the difference. And then you take the 3-minute game and run with it. So after those lessons, then I'll give you, I'll draw out each of the quadrants and how they work and go into quite a bit of depth about what's possible in each of them. Because each of those 4 is a very different kind of experience and has a whole world to open up for you. So you could say that the 3-minute game, the point of it is to find the 4 quadrants. What I think is, and that may be true, what I think is actually true is that the point of the 3-minute game is to have fun. Enjoy it. Play with it however you want. What it also does is create those 4 quadrants. And so this process and the process that I teach is how to do that in the way that opens them up the most for you. So that's what this page is about. So a note first about the 3-minute game. The 3-minute game was invented by a man named Harry Faddis, who's a long time and experienced workshop teacher and sexuality teacher. And the original version of the game are these 2 questions. What do you want me to do to you? And what do you want to do to me? In one of the other videos on this page, I tell the story of how and why I shifted it to this version, which is, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? And how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? But that's where the 3-minute game came from, so thank you, Harry. So most of my work is with people who are practitioners, are using touch in their lives professionally, coaches, therapists, counselors, people who deal with and teach about relationship. That's most of my work these days. My intention with this page is that it serves as a reference for anyone who's familiar with my work or who's done it or is thinking about studying it or who has studied with me and wants to go back and look at it. And it's also my intention that if you've never seen this before, there's enough on this page to give you what you need to get started and go quite a long way and have a wonderful time with it. So whether you are a practitioner or a civilian, enjoy, explore. Hope you have a great time with it.